Okay. Is everybody here? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Quinn, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors of the Meriden Hall of Fame, and I'd like to welcome you all to our 42nd annual induction ceremony. Before we begin, on Friday, the Hall of Fame suffered a loss. Our current president, Ed Murphy, who was the former finance director for the city of Meriden and a longtime member of the Meriden Kiwanis, passed away. And we'd like to begin by having a moment of silence for Ed Murphy. Thank you very much. Ed had only been president for about 6 or 7 months now, and we know he was so looking forward to this day, and we are deeply saddened that he is not with us because it is a loss to the Meriden Hall of Fame, to the Meriden Kiwanis, and the city of Meriden as a whole, as Ed certainly exemplified what giving back to your community is all about. I'd next like to call on Miguel and Celine Cardona, who are going to sing the national anthem for us today.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And before I get into my full welcoming remarks, I'd like to call on Father James Manship of St. Rose of Lima Church here in Meriden for our invocation.
All right. Today in my tradition, in the gospel reading today, we had 2 of the apostles, one to be on the right and the left of Jesus, and the other 10 very indignant about their search for fame. Well, we know that fame is not something that we should search for, but fame is something that is bestowed from those on the one who served, mentored, and inspired, and whose contributions stay in our hearts. And it's with that I offer this prayer today for our inductees. Let us pray. Loving and gracious God, giver of life and all good things, we give you thanks for the people you have sent us, who have inspired us, who have guided us, who have been so gracious with their gifts that you have given them. Bless the inductees to the Meriden Hall of Fame, Hector, Cardona, Amelia, Mustone, and Robert McNulty. With grateful hearts, we lift them up to you, Lord. Watch over them. May they know the gratitude of their community, feel your blessing upon them, and grow ever more in service to you and to their neighbor, and so as to continue to inspire all of us to work for the good of all. We ask this prayer and blessing in your holy name, the source of all good, our loving and gracious God. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, Father. Before we get into our presentation, we have three excellent inductees today, all of whom I have known for a number of years. Amelia Mustone is probably the reason why I got involved in public service in the first place. Back in 1992, she took a stand, unpopular at the time and probably still unpopular now, of being the lone Meriden representative who supported the state income tax. And it was that courage that inspired me to get involved. And that year I got involved with her campaign, and the rest, as they say, is history. Because of my involvement with her campaign, after I returned to Meriden from law school, I was appointed to the Meriden Housing Authority, where I met Hector Cardona, who had been on the board for a number of years at that time, and was a great source of inspiration to me, and truly understood the mission and goals of public housing, and was a great teacher. And Mr. McNulty was not at the Housing Authority when I was there, but with the way some of the things turned out during the years I was on the MHA board, I certainly wish he still had, because his reputation in the city and to the Housing Authority was second to none. And again, it is my honor to be participating in a program that inducts such wonderful people to the Meriden Hall of Fame. We have a number of guests and dignitaries in the room today that I would like to acknowledge at this point, and I'll have you hold your applause until the end. And my apologies in advance if I miss anyone, but I think I've scanned the room well enough and caught just about everybody who's here. The Meriden Hall of Fame doesn't work if we don't have a dedicated board of directors. And I'm honored to serve with Joe Zajac, Dave Edgington, Gail Edgington, honorary member Bob Conroy, Vin Muley, honorary member Irene Massey, our vice president Jeff Crossan, Dave Sweedock, John Hogarth, Brian Cofrancisco, and Hilda Santiago. We have a number of current and former officials in the room as well. I'd like to also acknowledge all of them. We have Mayor Kevin Scarpati, former Mayor Michael Rohde, former City Councilor Tony Tomasetti, Meriden Police Chaplain Clarence Hayes, former City Manager Roger Kemp, former City Councilor Dave Salafia, our current Deputy Mayor Michael Cardona, Superior Court Judge James Abrams, State Senator Len Suzio, State Representative Buddy Altabello, State Representative Hilda Santiago, State Representative Kathy Abercrombie, Assistant Superintendent Miguel Cardona, City Councilor Kathy Batista, City Councilor Miguel Castro, Meriden Police Deputy Chief Mark Walierziak. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge 4 past inductees to the Meriden Hall of Fame who are with us today. Former Mayor and City Councilor Matt Dominello, Rudine Ray, George Hamra, and former City Clerk Irene Massey. And again, I'd like to give everyone a round of applause and thank you for being here today. At this time, I'd like to call on the Honorable Kevin Scarpati, Mayor of the City of Meriden, for greetings.
Thank you. You're welcome. The hardest part of my job, which is trying to remember and see who's here today. So I want to thank Mike Quinn for not only his Master of Ceremonies this evening, also being our Corporation Counsel of the City of Meriden. A round of applause for Mr. Michael Quinn. This is an event I look forward to every fall to attend and witness and hear testimony of individuals who have made an impact on our city years and years ago. Many of which obviously not only joining us today, but their legend carries on. If you look on the back of the program, you'll see a full list of all those who have been inducted going back to 1977, when you'll see one of those first inductees was Rosa Poncel, and it's fitting that the ceremony is held here in the Augusta Curtis Center that pays tribute to her legacy. Today, however, we acknowledge three individuals, and oftentimes we're faced with three members that are being inducted who represent different walks of life, however impacting the city. Today, I'm happy to see that the three that we're honoring today impacted the lives that mattered the most, and that was the people of the city of Meriden in many different ways. Whether it was Mr. McNulty in defending their right for quality housing in the city of Meriden, something we still fight for today. Things that's still happening this very day. If you drive through the city on any given weekday, you'll see construction happening, and much of which started under Mr. McNulty. And so thank you, sir, for your legacy that you've left in fighting for the quality of housing of our residents as we proudly continue to today. Mrs. Mustone, and you are a pillar of strength, as Mr. Quinn alluded to. But not only that, but in a time today where we're faced with having to make decisions and looking at what women in power go through, you did that well before anyone else had the courage to. And to be able to recognize you and your efforts today, what you've done to the Meriden community, we can't thank you enough. And it's an honor to not only have taken pictures and greet your family earlier today, but to award you into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations. And of course, Mr. Cardona, who's greeted here with his family. This is a tough act to follow with members of your family, of course, leading us off in the national anthem. But Hector, in that mustache, has been a symbol of the city of Meriden for years, and our police department. He's always been a friendly face. Anytime you hear about law enforcement, most of it is unfortunately negative. Hector helped shed that positivity. And with that smile, going out into the community and really welcoming our residents. I can't thank him enough. And then going above and beyond in the work he's done in the education field. And of course, everyone knows all the work he does with the Puerto Rican community here in Meriden that thanks him so much with the festival that he puts on every year up at Hubbard Park. These three individuals have made a lasting impact on Meriden's landscape, but most importantly, the people that have called Meriden their home for so many years. It's an honor to stand before you as the mayor of this great city and reap the benefits that you've brought to us over the last several decades. Congratulations to all of you and your family. It's well deserved. Again, a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Our first inductee today in the category of Business and Commerce is Robert McNulty. And to present Mr. McNulty is his son, Peter McNulty.
I thought I was second, but that's okay. Yes, good afternoon. My name is Peter McNulty. I'm Bob's oldest son. I don't know if you have to stand here for the full.
Well, I will.
I'm going to try to take 10 minutes unless there's a lot of applause, and then it'll be a little longer. I've been asked to share my dad's biography with you, so here we go. Robert Dominic McNulty, also known affectionately as Bob or Mac, was born on May 30th, 1927, at home on North 3rd Street in Meriden. May 30th, as many of you probably know, used to be Memorial Day every year. It is no longer the case, and my dad here is very aggravated about that and mentions it every darn year. He married the late Joyce Marie Gilman on June 14, 1952, and has 3 grown sons. With the exception of college and the military, he has lived in Meriden his entire life. A few comments on education. Bob attended grades 1 through 9 at St. Joe's School on West Main Street here in Meriden, and then went on to Meriden High School, I believe across the street on Pleasant Street. On arriving home from serving in the Navy during World War II, Mr. McNulty, with the help of his older brother, made contact with Niagara University outside of Buffalo, New York, and was immediately accepted. He had been previously accepted to the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. However, at the end of the war, so many veterans were returning to the States and entering college that it turned out there was no room at Notre Dame for Bob. Dad attended Niagara anyway, and according to him, it was the best thing that he had ever done. He did very well academically and got involved with an array of campus activity, including the varsity swim team. Bob was consistently on the Dean's List honor roll and became president of the student council. He graduated in 1950, magna cum laude, with a Bachelor of Science degree in social sciences. Following Niagara, Mr. McNulty enrolled in the University of Connecticut Hartford School of Law, where he attended from 1950 to 1952. However, after 3 semesters, he was broke and exhausted after all the work and studies. He explained this to the dean, who checked his file. The dean stated that Bob had excellent marks and he could be immediately readmitted if he so chose. Dad instead began working in Meriden and never did have the opportunity to return to law school. But what he had learned in his abbreviated stay at UConn Law contributed much to his success in public service. Quick word about the military. In 1944, at the age of 17, Mr. McNulty enlisted in the U.S. Navy. He was sent to boot camp at Sampson, New York Naval Training Base. At Sampson, Bob was advanced to seaman, 2nd class. Mr. McNulty's crew was sent cross-country and then shipped out of San Francisco to the Philippines as replacements for the 3rd Fleet. He says today that that trip to the Philippines was so long it seemed like they would never get there. I could imagine. Upon arrival in the Philippines, Bob was in a group assigned to the naval base on Manakani Island, a small island in the Leyte Gulf. A major destroyer repair base and ship repair unit were built there in 1945. According to Dad, the work was awful. For example, he and others weren't even given underwater masks while diving under ships to make repairs. While at Manakani, a buddy of Bob's from West Haven finally got him transferred from ship repair duties to the personnel office on the base, where he became 2nd in charge. After the Japanese surrender on September 2, 1945, the liberation of the Philippines took place, and Bob eventually returned to San Francisco and ultimately landed at Point Loma in San Diego, where he finished out his time with the Navy, receiving an honorable discharge in 1946. Business and professional service and experience. Upon leaving UConn Hartford School of Law, which I alluded to earlier, Mr. McNulty began working part-time at numerous local outlets in Meriden. And he actually also worked for the state of Connecticut as a lifeguard captain for 3 years. Then for 9 years, Mr. McNulty was employed full-time as a sales supervisor at John F. Malloy's famous Meriden stationery store. Located at 4 Colony Street, J.F. Malloy had the largest open display of greeting cards in New England. In 1962, Mr. McNulty was named the Deputy Director of the Meriden Redevelopment Agency, also known as MRA, and he left Malloy's at that time. It was the early days of the MRA, and Robert worked closely with the Executive Director, Fran Noonan, to get the agency off and running. The purpose of the MRA was to acquire and clear old or rundown real estate properties located in the downtown central urban renewal area of the city. Through urban renewal, projects led by Misters Noonan and McNulty at the MRA, a shopping mall, housing projects, and other modern buildings ultimately occupied the places where large industrial factories and blighted properties once stood. Of particular note, the Meriden Mall, later renamed the Meriden Hub, one of the region's first indoor retail shopping malls, opened in September of 1970 on land that the MRA redeveloped. On February 22nd, 1966, the Board of Commissioners of the Meriden Housing Authority, the MHA, appointed Mr. McNulty at age 38 Executive Director. He started his new job on March 10th, 1966. At the time, Art Barber, the retiring Executive Director of MHA, stated that Bob's position with the redevelopment agency brought him, and I quote, brought him into close relationship with the kinds of problems with which the Housing Authority is concerned, close quote. When learning of Mr. Barber's intent to retire, the MHA board advertised the job opening in Boston, Hartford, New Haven, and Meriden newspapers, as well as the Journal of Housing. The board received 47 inquiries, of which 25 resulted in formal applications, 11 were actually from Meridien, and 12 were selected for interviews. Bob was chosen by unanimous vote of the commissioners, who decided that he was the best qualified applicant of them all. As the executive director, Bob administered and directed the day-to-day operations of the MHA. Mr. McNulty went on to have an extremely productive and successful 18-year tenure at the MHA, improving housing opportunities for Meridian's low-income and elderly by leaps and bounds. Among the many accomplishments at MHA, the following are considered to be major. He built Community Towers, a two-story high-rise complex for the elderly on Willow Street. The building consists of 221 one-bedroom units with the towers connected by a large community room. Today, Community Towers continues to be successful federal low-income public housing for the elderly and the disabled. He rehabilitated Willow Court Apartments, a small elderly housing complex on Willow Street. The development was later sold to a private investment firm. He sold Chamberlain Heights, up off of Chamberlain Highway, at the time a state moderate rental family housing development which was managed by the FHA. He sold that to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in order to gain financial support for ongoing operations. Today, Chamberlain Heights remains federal housing throughout 36 buildings with a total of 124 units and a community center, and in recent years received a $26 million renovation. He sold single houses within the MHA's Yale Acres and Johnson Farms developments to the then current residents, so each house would become a part of the City of Meriden tax roll. To their immense gratification, the long-term families living in these units were able to achieve home ownership. He developed Harborbrook Towers in partnership with Carabetta Enterprises in 1973. At the time, the only HUD Section 23 housing in the United States. This is a 15-story, 238-unit complex at 80 Hanover Street. The MHA managed Harborbrook Towers for 20 years until it reverted back to Carabetta. And he acquired a former bank building at 22 Church Street and moved the MHA office there from the previous location on Broadvale Road in the Yale Acres development. I think the MHA office is still located there. Now, during his tenure at the MRA and the MHA, Mr. McNulty was also active in his industry nationally. He first participated in the Connecticut chapter of the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials, which is commonly known as NARO. He became president of Connecticut NARO and was the first chairman of the National NARO Professional Committee. He was elected president of the New England NARO and then elected to the National NARO Board of Directors. He was later nominated for the office of National Executive Vice President. Following Mr. McNulty's retirement from the MHA in 1984, he became an independent contractor for the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, commonly known as Freddie Mac. He did that for 18 years. He worked for their multifamily loan division covering the East Coast from Maine to Virginia. Mr. McNulty fully retired in 2002 at the age of 75, a couple years ago. Last word about his other role in charity and civic duties. Mr. McNulty's concern and affection for the city of Meriden were certainly evident in his job responsibilities, as I previously stated. But his continuous active involvement to help the city's people transcended his job immensely. These are just some of the major civic activities and community services that he's being honored for. He was president of the Meriden Junior Chamber, the JCs, and president of the Connecticut JCs. He was awarded the 1961 JC's Distinguished Service Award as the Outstanding Young Man of the Year. He was director of the Meriden Lions Club International and treasurer of the Meriden Lions Welfare Projects Incorporated. He was officer of the Meriden Elks Club for 4 terms. He was actually sworn in as a member of the Elks by his father, Dominic, who at the time was the Elks' exalted ruler. He was director of the Meriden Boys Club, director of the Meriden Public Health and Visiting Nurses Association, vice chairman of the Committee for Meriden Incorporated, a member of the Connecticut Urban Renewal Association, sub-chairman of the Meriden City Citizens Advisory Committee on Redevelopment. He was a member of the Council of Community Services for Central Connecticut, a member of the Meriden Recreational Advisory Council, coach of the Meriden swim team. He was active in the Meriden Red Cross blood program and fund drives. He was active in the Meriden chapters of the Cancer Society, United Fund, March of Dimes, Heart Fund, and Muscular Dystrophy Association. He became the Child Guidance Clinic for Central Connecticut president for 2 years, their treasurer, director, and fund drive sub-chairman. And he was the second elected president of the clinic itself. At St. Joseph's School and Church, he was named president of the Home and School Association, president for 2 terms of the parish council, and he served on several committees. And finally, at the Curtis Home, he was president for 3 years of the Board of Trustees, first past president to be immediately elected to the Board of Trustees, and he stepped down in 2014 as a member of the Board of Trustees. Above all, it was the compassion and empathy for the people of Meriden that were his best achievements. Particularly at the Meriden Housing Authority, the tenants at the various housing developments throughout the city loved him. They knew him by name, and he completely enjoyed the strong relationships he held with them. He worked 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for their cause, and unselfishly responded to whatever problems they faced. The fact that they were low income, moderate income, elderly, or disabled only encouraged Dad more to do whatever he could to make their lives as safe and decent as possible. I give you Mr. Bob McNulty. All right, you want to read this?
Yeah. Hello to everyone. And thank you for coming. That's very important. And I'm so glad to be here today. And of course, at my age, you have to have understand I'm just glad to be anywhere. But this is incredible. I'm so happy and honored to be here today to be inducted into the Meriden Hall of Fame. First, congratulations to Amelia and Hector. I know they are very deserving to receive this award. I've been friends with Amelia and her family for the better part of all my life. For us to be inducted today is special. I want to thank my family for nominating me, all the people who voted for me, and the Hall of Fame committee for making this possible. With the exception of college and Navy, I've lived my entire life in Meriden. It's my home. Throughout my life, I've loved the city and its people, and I had a good fortune to be several positions to have the opportunity to make the city a greater one, whether it's redevelopment, the housing authority, or charity work. All my efforts were truly to make Meriden a better place to live, especially for our elderly, low-income, and disenfranchised citizens. So it is such a great honor that those efforts are being acknowledged in such a spectacular way. I've worked with and have been friends with many of the current Hall of Fame members whose pictures hang on the walls of City Hall across the street. Great men and women who have served Meriden so well. Never did I expect to be one of them.
To be part of that elite group.
I'm truly humbled that now I am. Thank you. Very much.
Don't run away too quickly.
Uh-oh. What are we doing next? Where are you going? Everybody's got to sit on.
That's fine.
Yeah, let them sit on. All right. Can you do that sit down?
Absolutely. As everyone knows, 3 large plaques will be hanging in City Hall to join all of the other inductees to the Meriden Hall of Fame. But we would also like to present you with a smaller version of the plaque that is going to hang in the Hall of Fame so that you have it for your home.
Thank you.
And also each year, cartoonist Justin Picarello from the Meriden Record Journal does what actually is usually a flattering portrayal of the inductees to the Hall of Fame. And we have a color copy for each of our inductees to have with your plaque. And congratulations again, Mr. McNulty.
Thank you.
And our next inductee in the category of community service is Hector Cardona Sr. And to present him is Marisol Chang.
He stood it. He's 91.
You can do it too. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming here this afternoon. It's my honor to talk about who is Hector Cardona. It's a loaded question. Today, among so many other roles that he upholds, he's an outstanding husband. I'm going to do this without crying. Father, grandfather, and member of the community. He was a young boy who came with his family from Puerto Rico when he was just 7. So his dad could work in the tobacco fields and make a life here. He was a former student at St. Rose School in Maloney High, a parishioner of St. Rose, where he began his career serving his community, where he served as an altar boy. He was a young man who later became one of the youngest choir directors in the church's history, leading the Spanish choir for 20 years, performing every week in Meriden, and also throughout the state, New England, and even Canada. Hector was a police officer. In 1983, he became a police officer for the town of Meriden, which he loved so much. He was one of the first police officers assigned to the Community Police Division in the early 1990s, happily accepting the assignment of the Mills Memorial Housing Project. That was his first home when he came at the age of 7. He gladly accepted, and the fact that the Mills was at the height of gang activity in the 90s, that didn't deter him. He wanted that he wanted to be there. In his role as community police officer at the Mills, he used his wit, his charm, and his ability to connect with others to trust a trusting rapport with the residents of the Mills and the community as a whole. So much so, he needed to get a second house line just for extended family, because everyone in the community was calling, seeking for advice at some point or another, even at times well past midnight, and he would always answer the call. As a police officer, he volunteered to do outreach informally to the Meriden students, holding assemblies to discuss pertinent issues such as gangs, drugs, promoting community service, safety, and good decision-making. And I remember sitting as a student in the auditorium thinking, that's my dad. I'm so proud. He was a recipient of numerous merit awards, a nominee for the State of Connecticut Hispanic Police Officer Award. He served as the field training officer, hostage negotiator, external affairs officer, and honor guard director. As a member of the community, in an effort to promote equity for all of Meriden residents, he joined the Meriden Human Rights Advisory Council. He was commissioner for the Meriden Housing Authority, serving as an advocate for all residents, including those who were limited in their ability to speak English. He served on the Meriden Wallingford Substance Abuse Council, or MOSAC, Board of Directors, and the Meriden Wallingford Hospital Board of Governors. He received the JC's Local Award and was selected as the JC's State Award winner. He was a candidate for City Council in 1987 and 1983. He's been a proponent for promoting cultural awareness and advocacy. He was a member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and the Meriden and State Puerto Rican Festival and Parade Committees. He founded the Meriden Hispanic Foundation, which raised money to fund scholarships for Hispanic students wishing to further their education. For over 15 years, he organized the annual Malsac Parranda, promoting substance and alcohol-free Hispanic cultural awareness through music and holiday traditions, and also that was a great opportunity for him to bring his culture, the Puerto Rican Parranda, bringing it to the community that he loved so much. He served as a radio personality and disc jockey at 1120 WPRX radio station, bringing nostalgia to his loyal listeners statewide with Hispanic music of yesteryear. In 2012, he was tapped by Mayor Rody to serve as the president of the Puerto Rican Festival Committee and continues to lead the committee in organizing the annual Puerto Rican Festival, drawing over 5,000 visitors from throughout the state. He is founder of the well-known Cardona family band, currently in their 3rd generation. And they volunteer at convalescent homes and nursing homes statewide and perform at various venues and benefit functions in Connecticut. He continues to serve the community as Justice of the Peace in a notary public. Hector is a two-time retiree. He retired from the Meriden Police Department in 2013 after 31 successful years, after which he was recruited as security personnel at the Adult Learning Center with the Meriden Public Schools, where he uses positive relationships and a great sense of humor to establish positive climate for the students and staff alike. He retired from there earlier this year, joining his wife in retirement and enjoying his days with his high school sweetheart, who is also his wife, Sarah Cardona. I had to clarify that. With whom he will be celebrating 46 years of marriage later this month. Hector is a dedicated husband, father, and grandfather, and member of this community. He exudes kindness, compassion, and commitment and caring. And in life, there are things you just do. But then there are those things that you're really passionate about, and he really puts his heart into all that he does. But those things that he's passionate about, he puts his heart and soul into it. And in addition to his family, this community has been his passion. That is why it is such an honor for him to be inducted to the Meriden Hall of Fame. And I just want to take this opportunity to apologize to those at City Hall, because I called and I called and I called for a date to make sure that I can be here to find, and I wouldn't miss this for the world, Bobby. It is with such honor and pride that I introduce to you my dad, my hero, Hector Cardona.
Well, I'm not planning to stay here and talk as much as they did, but now I want to thank everybody, the committee. I also want to extend my sincere condolences to Ed Murphy's family. Great man, I knew him very well. And I want to thank the Meriden Hall of Fame Selection Committee. It's an honor to be chosen, and among so many people that I'm sure that probably more deserving than I am. But like my daughter said, I came here at the age of 7. My parents, I'm not going to repeat what she said, but my parents were strict, even though we grew up in the mills. My father was very strict, and that helped me a lot in forming what I have today, which I'm very happy with my family. But I always, in order for you to work and be good with people, you got to be good with yourself. It's like I look at life as a tree. You're the root in my family, for example. I am the root of that family. So if if the root is not in good condition, the branches are not going to flourish. So luckily, and thank God, I followed that from my parents. I'm very strict with my children, and it paid off. Today, well, I'm sure everybody knows my family, my children. Stand up. My wife. I wanted to stay in Meriden because I love Meriden, And I wanted my children to do the same thing. I wanted them to stay in Meriden. My son, who is an educator, he had the opportunity to go different places. He got called. Actually, he didn't go looking for work. They called him. But he chose Meriden because this is his route. My son, Hector, took law enforcement, followed my footsteps, and he also chose Meriden. My daughter, who's now in Florida because her husband, she is a social worker. She was a social worker here in the school system, but her husband got a job transferred in Florida, so it was either that or...
My heart's in Meriden.
Her heart's in Meriden. Her heart's in Meriden. She's also a social worker. So I'm very happy for them. I could die today, and I have, you know, I leave happy because I know that they're all taken care of. And none of this could have happened without the help of my rock, Sarah, my wife. She was 16 when we got married. I had just turned 18. And I proved my family wrong. My brother used to tell me, it's not going to work. Where's my brother? My brother. My brother, he said it wasn't going to work. It worked. The 28th of this month, it'll be 46 years. So... I'm not planning to have any more children at this point, but I also have, you know, like my children, they have their children, and they're planting the same seed or the same what is it? Passion that I did with my children. Today, you saw the two young men and my daughter-in-law, my granddaughter. Pretty sure I'm going to start speaking Spanish here. My grandson and my granddaughter sang the national anthem. So they take after what they're taught by their father. So all in all, it's I'm happy. I'm very happy. I've been blessed. I've got a beautiful family. Where's my family? Raise your hands. I also want my family from New York, my nieces from New York. Yeah, I even have my sister from Puerto Rico over here too. Yeah, we're all here. I'd like to also, my Robert Rosado, chief in Willimantic. He's from Meriden. Good man. I want to acknowledge him. But as I learned a lot from being a police officer. I learned to put myself in other people's shoes when I got sent to a call, and you know, and they had serious problems. I put myself in their shoes, and I try to solve it as if it was my own problem. And you learn to appreciate life, and that's one of the things that I liked more about being a police officer, working with people and trying to help them solve their problems. I remember one day this lady calls me. I don't know how they got my home number, but everybody had my number. Calls me. It was around 1 o'clock in the morning. We were sleeping, and she's crying. Her daughter left and after school and hadn't returned. So what am I going to do? You know, but I'm not going to turn my back on her. Of course, I got to make it. I went to her house, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Yeah, I'd probably make a report, of course, because the young kid was like 15 years old. And as I'm talking to the mother, the daughter arrived. What happened was she went with her friends to the mall and lost track of time, started watching movies or whatever, and she came home at 1 o'clock, 1:30ish. The mother thought She thought I was God. She says, what I didn't do anything. She's thanking me. She's thanking me. I didn't do anything, you know. I just happy to be there. But, yeah, that's part of the job that makes you want to continue. So I did that for 31 plus years. And to this day, I still miss the guys. Tom, he's our lieutenant. Where's our deputy chief? There he is over there. Good man too. A lot of good people here. So I don't want to stay here and talk. Like I say, I'm not much of a public speaker, as you can see. But I share this award with my wife Sarah. Like I said, you know, we got married young, and we're still going at it. I am blessed to receive this award. I am blessed to receive this award, and all the people that are in my circle, which is all the people that you see here, Mike Rody, I mean, everybody, all my family, Hilda Santiago, all this section here, Reverend. I couldn't do it without what I have today. I mean, it's like, again, it's like you guys are like a branch of this tree. And I love everybody. That's all I'm going to say. I could continue, but...
Hector, on behalf of the Meriden Hall of Fame Board of Directors, we'd like to present you with the home version of the plaque that's going to hang in City Hall, and also a copy of the cartoon that was in the Record Journal. Okay, I think about the only people that Hector didn't acknowledge were the few people in the room, and we won't have you raise your hand, but we know that there are a few people who he arrested who are here today. And he'd like to thank you as well for being part of his police career.
It's early.
And finally, in the category of law, government, and military, our final inductee today is Amelia Mustone, and to present her is John Mustone.
What a wonderful sight. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, the mic.
I'll get to that in a minute.
Mic drop.
First of all, I'm impressed with what the Hall of Fame is all about. There's just so much to it, so much richness in the program. But I'm not going to read her bio. I decided to come a different way. One door opens, one door closes. That's a life. It's life for all of us. These words you're going to hear from me more often than any other words. I'm sure all of you have gone through changes in your life. So I moved to think about one door opens, one door closes. One door opens when you're born. One door closes when you're gone. The only thing you take with you when you go is what you leave behind. Amelia, I am just a narrator. and was along for the ride. One door opens. In 1959,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I know, I'll keep it there. This is my number one daughter.
What?
She's in charge.
Okay, I'll hold it. I'll hold it. Just keep your hand.
All right, you can hold it. I haven't shown this speech to anybody. Well, I've done some modifications since then. In 1959, I was offered a position in sales, which meant a relocation to Connecticut. At the time, we were living outside of Boston with 5 children. We were already 10 years married and settled in our lives and in a new home. It was a significant opportunity for me and our future. Amelia was agreeable, even though it seemed like a major change for the family. So in early 1960, in 2 cars, 5 children, 1 dog, and a parakeet, we were off to a new challenge for a better life. Destination, Meriden. By the end of 1960, another child was born, and life was full of changes. One door opens. Amelia began making new friends through the Junior Women's Club, but her main interest was the League of Women Voters. In the early 1970s, she gravitated to politics and was interested in running for the Board of Education. Her first attempt was a success. She became the only woman on the board, all-men board. Early in her first year, a tragedy with a school bus changed her life. The president of the board had to resign. His daughter was a sad victim in the awful accident. As a result, a new president had to be elected by the remaining board members. Guess who won the election? Amelia, the least experienced person on the board. The work was difficult for her since the board met more than 300 nights a year. There were meetings on finance, budgets, union agreements, non-union agreements. All this with the new president learning on the job. The many new responsibilities. She learned fast and learned well. The 4 years went by quickly, not without chaos. She was called home by the courts. Oh, she was 1 year while she was away studying for a BA degree. She was called home by the court. A threatened teacher strike was evident and needed her attention. It was all finalized after a few weeks to the satisfaction of both sides, returning things back to normal, but a wave of unrest was in the air. Her first re-election was ahead, but a cry from afar was something like, throw all the rascals out. She was caught in a tsunami of discontent and ultimately lost her seat in a frenzy. After a recount, it showed that she lost by 9 votes. 4 years of meetings and compelling attention by her to the job, gone forever. One door closes. One night, out for a quiet dinner, she was reviewing the loss. I attempted to cheer her up and suggested that she run for the 13th senatorial district. Her answer was sharp and said, "Are you out of your mind?" I offered some of the reasoning as high visibility in the city, job well done, constituent satisfaction, and competing against an incumbent who had been in office for 20 years with little achievements to his credit. One door opens. After giving my idea more thought, she made a move to meet and met with all the delegates at the state convention. Delegates were located in Meriden, Middletown, and Middlefield. The task was daunting, but she was up to the task. On her own, she met each delegate and sought their support. They met at local quick food places for coffee. She asked their support in the coming convention. Her efforts were paid off as she was selected over the incumbent, who decided to have a primary for the seat. The primary was scheduled and she won. Her next hurdle was against the Republican, and it was victorious. She was on the way to Hartford. A door opens. It was the first of 8 elections for her. The next 16 years, as senator of the 13th district, she exemplified honesty, diligence, and most of all, respect for most of her constituents. To her credit, she learned how to work on both sides of the aisle. Not too common today. In her final years, she rose to deputy majority leader for 4 years. In 1996, she decided to retire and turn her seat over to the next generation. She had fulfilled her political life for more than 20 years. She thanks all the people that voted for her in the Hall of Fame. Her contributions were always the centerpiece of her life. Final note, there is a small park on the west side, not far from where we live. It was named in her honor by the city. If you ever drive in the area, say a quiet thank you to Amelia for her unselfish efforts for the city of Meriden. One addition. One addition. I met Amelia in 1948. Don't do the math. That's 70 years. I followed her through these campaigns in the background. Everything she's accomplished on her own, which is unbelievable. Because there were many nights when the state had their budgets and whatever, she'd be coming home at 2 or 3 in the morning. Sometimes she slept over in her office because it was run until 5 in the morning. So she worked hard. She deserves all the recognition, and she deserves the credit for a job well done.
I'm so happy to be here today. I would like to thank the selection committee for this wonderful award. It's hard to believe that I have been in Meriden for almost 60 years. It has been my adopted hometown and the place where I raised my family and developed lifelong friendships. I think my interest in politics when I joined the Women Voters, League of Women Voters. It was a good way to meet other women and taught me about the political process. Education has always been extremely important to me, and serving on the Board of Education provided me with the opportunity to advocate for children and teachers. After losing my bid for re-election by 9 votes, I was motivated more than ever to work hard and really believe in myself. I fondly remember Rosemary Knox and so many others who encouraged me along the way. With their help and the support of my husband and children, I set my sights on representing Meriden in the Connecticut State Senate. As the senator from the 13th District, I began to see politics on a much larger scale and enjoyed my best to represent my hometown. No one walks through life alone, and I share this honor with my family, especially with my husband, John, who has been with me every step of the way. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Amelia.
They keep running off on me. On behalf of the Meriden Hall of Fame Board of Directors, we present you with the home version of the plaque and also the cartoon. And as you can see behind me, I still have a full table, so we're going to have to call a few people back up here. First, I'd like to call on the mayor, Kevin Scarpati, for a presentation from his office.
I decided to sit at the furthest possible part of the building. So we have awards for each of the recipients. It's obviously not as prestigious as the plaque that you all have received, and I encourage all of you here in attendance to please, in a couple of weeks, to stroll through the halls of City Hall when the plaques are installed, lining up next to all the others in the Meriden Hall of Fame, and just read the biographies of those that have been awarded. So with any luck, I would have picked out the first in the lineup. So, Mr. McNulty, you hung through the whole speech, so I'm going to ask you to please come forward. First and foremost, formal congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have an official citation from the Office of the Mayor and the Meriden City Council presented to Mr. Robert D. McNulty on being inducted into the 2018 Meriden Hall of Fame in the area of business and commerce. Mayor Kevin Scarpati and the City Council of Meriden hereby offer our sincerest congratulations and best wishes on your award. The entire community of Meriden is proud of your accomplishments, including but not limited to the improvement of housing opportunities for Meriden's low-income, elderly and disabled, while working as the Executive Director of the Meriden Housing Authority. Dated and presented this 21st day of October 2018 at the Augusta Curtis Center. Congratulations. Next is Mr. Hector Cardona, Sr. Hector, if you could please join me. Hector, this official citation is presented to you on behalf of the Office of the Mayor and Meriden City Council on being inducted into the 2018 Meriden Hall of Fame in the area of community service. Myself and the Meriden City Council hereby offer our sincerest congratulations and best wishes on this award. The entire Meriden community is proud of your accomplishments, including but not limited to your service in the Meriden Police Department, serving the Community Police Division as a field training officer, hostage negotiator, external affairs officer, and honor guard commander, and through your volunteerism and courageous pride for Meriden, you have become an unofficial ambassador of the entire Hispanic community. Dated and presented this 21st day of October at the Augusta Curtis Cultural Center. Congratulations, Hector. Last but certainly not least, Miss Amelia Mustone, would you please join me here at the podium? You know, I just have to just joke that her daughter said to me earlier when I first introduced myself, she says, you know, she could have run for mayor, but she aimed higher. So you can do whatever you want with this. But in all honesty, it is a privilege and an honor to be here and present this citation on behalf of the lowly mayor's office. And of course, the Meriden City Council, presented to Amelia B. Mustone on being inducted into the 2018 Meriden Hall of Fame in the area of law, government, and military. Mayor Kevin Scarpati and the City Council of Meriden hereby offer our sincerest congratulations and best wishes on this award. The entire community of Meriden is proud of your accomplishments, including but not limited to your service of being a trailblazer for women in politics, having served as president of the Meriden Board of Education, and in the Connecticut State Senate, representing the 13th District for 8 terms. Amelia was known for her ability to reach across the aisle. Amelia has also been an advocate for the arts and her strong advocacy for children's issues, having raised 6 children of her own. Presented and dated this 21st day of October 2018 at the Augusta Curtis Center. Congratulations once again. Thank you. I did not realize the City Council was standing to my right, actually.
That's because we're lower than you?
Again, my colleagues from the Meriden City Council, we have City Councilor Kathy Batista, City Councilor Miguel Castro, and our Deputy Mayor, City Councilor Michael Cardona. Thank you all very much for joining me.
And continuing our climb up the governmental ladder, I will next call up State Senator Len Suzio, Representative Buddy Altabello, Representative Hilda Santiago, and Representative Kathy Abercrombie for presentations from the state.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you all. McNulty in the back row there. Oh my gosh. How'd they get back so far? I don't know. Come on. Congratulations to all of you, Hector and Amelia and Bob. There were so many nice words said about it, but the one that sums it up best is your love of this community and your love of the people here. And it makes so much difference to all of us. I'm here with Hilda Santiago, my colleague in the House, Kathy Abercrombie, also a colleague in the House, and Len Suzio, who's currently the senator in the 13th District.
I like the way you emphasize currently.
Well, he's been a senator and then not, and then back again. But no, Len's a great guy too. And he'd like to say a few words and keep it under about 12 minutes.
Just all 3 of them.
Yeah.
All 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I think it's only fitting and proper that the community recognize exceptional individuals who have given in an exceptional way to the community, and each one of the three people being recognized today has given in a unique way. Bob McNulty has done a wonderful job under the business and industry label, and all too often today we pick up the paper, we turn on the TV, and we see a story of greed. We see a story of businesses run amok, doing unethical things. Bob represents what's best in the business community. A man who's not motivated by profit and greed, but a man who's motivated by what's in the best interest of the community. You're certainly my ideal as a business person myself. Congratulations to you. And Hector Cardona, you are such a contributor to the community in so many ways. A representative of the Latino community, of course, but also of the finest ideals of being a police officer, a community officer. And again, sometimes we read of sad and tragic stories in the community and around the country involving police. And Hector, you are definitely represent the best. And to the whole left side of the room, which is the Cardona side of the room, congratulations. And I'll close by saying, Amelia, course, I sit up there in the Senate right now, and honestly, when I sit in the seat, the same seat that you sat in years ago, from time to time I think back who preceded me in that seat and the accomplishments they achieved, and I admire you for what you did while you were there. And you did it when women were still coming forward. You were a leader in that respect, and I want to especially congratulate you on that and the inspiration you are, I'm certain, to many women who followed in your footsteps. So it's an honor for me today to be here as part of this great ceremony. And should we read the citation for Bob? And
Your
then
12 minutes.
I'm over my time. Okay, I'll hand it back to. Okay, so this is the citation for Bob McNulty. It's from the General Assembly. And when I always present these citations, I know people get nervous when they hear the word citation. This is a good citation. Hector's not giving this citation.
I shouldn't have given him the mic.
Introduced by Representative Hilda Santiago, Representative Buddy Altobello, Representative Kathy Abercrombie, and myself, Len Suzio. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Robert D. McNulty in recognition of your introduction into the Meriden Hall of Fame. Today, we thank you for your commitment to improving the housing environment in Meriden, especially for some of the most vulnerable citizens. Your work with the Meriden Redevelopment Agency, the Meriden Housing Authority, as well as the Connecticut National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials is commendable and has earned you the respect of people from all walks of life. We also thank you for your involvement in your hometown community. You exemplify the very best traits of our community and set an example for others to follow. We honor you and thank you on this special day. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for many more years of your life, Bob. Given this 21st day of October 2018 at the State Capitol, signed by the President Pro Tem Martin Looney, the Speaker of the House Joe Arasimowicz, I got through that one, and the Secretary of State Denise Merrill, congratulations, Bob.
Thank God we have Hilda, that's all I got to say. I'm not going to read this citation. I'm just going to, from the bottom of my heart, say congratulations and really thank the three of you because you exemplify the best of what Meridien has to offer. And because of you, you've led the way for the rest of us. So I just hope that we can exemplify as much as you have through the years. So thank you, all of you, for what you've done for Meridien.
Again, I'm not going to read the whole thing. They're basically all the same except for the separate history that you have and the legacies of what you've done in the city of Meriden. But this one is for Hector Cardona, who has been a great friend and has been an inspiration for many Latinos, Puerto Ricans in the city of Meriden, but not only for them, for the whole community, and an example of what can be done in this city to make it a better place to live. So I want to thank you. I'm staying up here for a couple more minutes. These are certificates of accomplishment, not only from the United States Senator Chris Murphy, but also United States Senator Richard Blumenthal. I'm just going to read one of them, and also we have citations also from Congresswoman Esty. So this one is from Amelia Mustone. Upon your induction into the Meriden Hall of Fame, your incredible legacy as a pioneer for women in politics, including your 8 terms of service in the State Senate of Connecticut General Assembly, has brought tremendous pride to Meriden. Your public service and ability to work across the aisle helped make generations of residents proud for your trailblazing work. The Meriden community was fortunate to have such a thoughtful voice serving as a local leader and national advocate for children's issues. Your leadership within your field inspired your peers and the entire Meriden family. Bringing tremendous pride to the state of Connecticut, it is my privilege to honor you and to represent you in the United States Senate, dated today, October 21st, 2018. Christopher S. Murphy, United States Senate. And I just want to add that you have been my person to look up to say that I can also be involved in politics, that I can also be that voice for my adopted hometown of Meriden. So I want to thank you for that. And you always in my thoughts as a woman that was a trailblazer that stood up for what had to be said in the city of Meriden, and that voice for those underprivileged and underserved people, children in the city of Meriden, so thank you. Now they're all going to receive, Hector will be receiving the 3 citations, and also Mr. McNulty. So again, we want to congratulate you on your acceptance to the Hall of Fame.
Thank you all for those presentations. And before we close this afternoon, I'd be remiss if I did not thank 3 groups that are a tremendous asset to the Meriden Hall of Fame. Prentice Printing, who does our programs every year. Barker Specialty, who creates the plaques each year. And finally, our musical group, Inner Groove, who has been with us for the past several years, providing musical entertainment during the conclusion of the program. Again, on behalf of the Meriden Hall of Fame Board of Directors, I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming out today to honor these 3 great Meriden citizens. And again, to Hector, to Amelia, and to Bob, my sincerest congratulations and hearty thanks for all that you have done for the city of Meriden, and we all owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude for your service. Thank you. And with that, I will turn it over again to Father James Manship for our benediction.
Oh, boy.
I'm a lot shorter here than my church. I'm new to Meriden, and I understand that this was once the library, correct?
Yes.
Well, in here today, in our inductees, we have living volumes of wisdom, of great stories, real and concrete stories, deep in the roots in Meriden. And it's to remind us that as we celebrate today in the inductees, that all of us, the part of the Meriden community, have a role, a responsibility to continue to write the story of Meriden, one that's written in so many of your hearts, that you've shared with each other today and celebrated, and that we go forth today to continue to celebrate our stories, our lives together, and in service to one another. Loving and gracious God, we give you thanks for the many ways that you have called us into community, through our families, through our churches, through our civic organizations, and through our larger community of Meriden. We ask you to bless Robert and Hector, Amelia, and all who serve Meriden to make it a better place. We ask you that their lives, or our inductees, continue to inspire us all to be able to contribute to the common good and to advance your kingdom. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. And with that, our ceremony is over. We invite you all to help yourself to refreshments. And as you're going down the line, you will see applications for membership to the Meriden Hall of Fame. We'd encourage you all to take one and fill it out and consider joining the Meriden Hall of Fame. Each year, only the folks who are members of the Hall of Fame get to vote on who the inductees are going to be. So membership does have its privileges. And again, I thank you all very much for being here.